we're going to talk about how to hit a fungo. What's going on, guys? Coach Matt and Yugo Pro Baseball. I'm here with the man, Matt Antonelli, first round draft pick, my teammate in pro baseball. We're gonna talk about, from the coaching perspective today, how to hit a fungo, okay? We've transitioned from player to coaches, and fungo is a big part of the game, right?
Yes, go ahead.
What kind of tips you got for us?
So I love, there's nothing that makes me happier than a fungo. I love hitting, but something about having a bucket full of balls and a fungo, that's like my happy place. I love it. So some tips. First thing I'll say is there's a lot of debate. Do I throw it with my backhand or do I throw it with my front hand? The first tip I would say is, if you want to look really cool, flip it with the backhand, okay? That's how I always was a front flipper, and then people would be like, that's not cool, you got to go with the backhand. But if you're a first-time fungoer, just do whatever's comfortable, because this one right here takes a little bit of time. So even if you've just got to stand there, flip it up, and just hit it like that, that's fine. I think it's not about hitting the perfect fungo, which is actually tip number 2, because sometimes when coaches are hitting fungos, right? And I fall into this trap sometimes. I want to make it look like, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm the pro fungo guy here, right? So I'm hitting these like beautiful balls. They're just skimming the ground. They've got this like little bit of backspin. They look beautiful. And your fielder fields it and he never misses, right? And then they get into a game and somebody rips it down their throat, and they're like, oh, my coach hit me these beautiful fungos. This isn't beautiful anymore. So what I think of is I can build the player's confidence by hitting these balls like nice and easy to them and making it backspin. But I think sometimes, more than sometimes, you want to literally just rip the thing, and you also, I try to get more topspin than backspin. So I might try to really hit this ball hard, like right into the ground, so you get the topspin like that, because that's more realistic. Especially if you're going to work with a third baseman or a first baseman, those players are going to get a lot of, I played at third base a little bit. It's hard. You get these smash topspin balls where you've got to decide, do I drop step? Do I step up and pick it? And so if you're just hitting them, these nice, easy fungos, and by easy, I don't even mean just hitting them soft. I mean where you swing and your barrel comes down like this and you just barely clip the ball and you get the backspin like that. Like, it's pretty, but it's probably not super helpful for the guy. So that would be a really big tip of mine. Do you hit, how's your fungo?
I do hit fungos. I was a pitcher, so I'm really good at hitting ground balls. So I'm a big top spin guy, not on purpose, but that's how it goes.
Which is good.
I've gotten better over the years, but I'm also a front hand guy.
Yep.
So that it makes it easier for me. When I go backhand, for whatever reason, it's awkward for me.
Takes a long time to work on that.
So one tip for hitting with throwing with the front hand is I always grab 2 hands first, so I know where my bottom hand's going. So I'm not just grabbing a ball and grabbing this, because then, sometimes you're like, and you grab it. So I always grab like this, then I grab a ball, and then I go. So now I know I got a place to put my hand when I'm going. So that's really the only one tip I've got there.
I've got a few more.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Another couple. So I think a big one with fungo and 2 is we talk about open and closed training. So like, there's 2 different ways to train. One way is saying, hey, shortstop, here we go, I'm going to hit you a fungo, right? And they get the fungo and they work, this ball's going to be a backhand, this ball's going to be a forehand, right? And when I first started hitting fungos, and I think about even our career sometimes, that's how it went. It was like, all right, 4 balls at you, 4 balls to your forehand, 4 balls to your backhand, 2 slow rollers, here we go, let's play. And you get into that groove of just kind of doing that. But that's not the game. Like, that's super predictable. They know what's going to happen. And so you can warm them up with that, but then I want to make it unpredictable. So whether that is hit the ball anywhere, right? So like, I'm not going to tell that guy what's going on. I'm just going to hit the ball, let him react to it. Or it's take more than one player. So maybe it's take these 2 guys or the middle guys and say, hey, I'm not telling you where I'm hitting it. I'm just hitting it. You see the ball, react to it, and field it. I think is really important. And the other thing I'll say is there's more ways than just hitting a fungo by just flipping the ball and hitting it. So maybe someone really struggles with that, but they played the game right. A lot of former players, especially hitters, they can't figure out fungoing for a while because they've they've spent their whole life swinging two hands, reading the ball, and now all of a sudden they got to flip a ball up and try to hit it. So like another easy way, which I think is actually even better sometimes, is get another player or a coach to just give you a nice, easy little toss, just a little side toss. You've done this a million times as a player. Get the soft toss, bang, and hit it. And now it's even more realistic because now the ball's coming off harder. It's coming off with more realistic spin. So we do that. And we'll even do a front toss because every coach, every player has done front toss. And now the ball's thrown to me. I get in my stance and I just start ripping balls at guys, and nothing can get them prepared for the game more than that. So all things that would be considered fungo, but it's just not getting into like the repetitive, just nice, easy ground balls all the time.
A couple things came to mind when you were talking there. One, you remember we would do the thing called 14 outs. You remember that?
Oh, all the
In
time.
pro ball?
Yeah, all the
and
time.
they wouldn't tell us where it was going. They just smack it and we'd have to play it like a real game.
Right.
And if we got it right, we would count to number 2 and we'd try to get to 14. If we messed up, we had to start all
the
back
way
over.
back.
We'd be out there for hours.
Don't be the
sometimes.
guy that mess. And the other thing about that is that puts you in a game situation. It's like bottom of the ninth, winning by 1, bases loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting over at second base, and you can have two thoughts. You can say, please don't hit me the ball. Please don't hit it to me, right?
Yeah.
And some of us have all done that in the game. Or it's the other way. When you know you've prepared really well and you feel really confident as a player, you're like, hit me the ball. I want to make the last out.
Right.
So that'll teach a player how to do that.
Right.
And yeah, exactly.
It's definitely better to be the second part of that, to learn that and
Right.
teach yourself, hey, the more you can expect the ball and want the ball,
Right.
the easier it's going to become. Because if you're trying to play like tensed up like that, that's when you make a mistake. That's when you make a throwing error or take it off the chest or whatever.
Yep.
Remember, what was his name? Was it Gamboa?
Oh yeah.
The old guy.
He was the best fungo hitter ever. You ever check out his fungo bat?
No.
His fungo bat, right? It was like black like this, but there'd be a little spot right there where it was completely worn out all the way around. And he that was like a pride thing for him. He'd always
He
be
was
like,
the
he'd be
man.
like, check that out right there, man. Never hit a ball other than right on the sweet spot, which I
remember-
was impressed by.
I remember seeing him one time. He was probably from here. There's a fence over there if you want to pan that way a little bit. There's a big fence over there. He was standing about this far back, working on the outfielders to get to the fence, you know, find the fence and then make the play. And he's literally dropping it like a foot before the fence every single time. And I was like, and he was old. He was an older guy.
Yeah, can I tell one quick story about him?
Yes.
Because it has to do with a fungo.
Yes.
He would take his fungo, right? And we'd talk about bunting, and he'd say, never drop the barrel on a bunt, which we've all heard, right? You drop the barrel, you're gonna bunt it, you know, foul it off or whatever. He said, you gotta keep the barrel above the hands. You know how he'd show us? I don't know if you ever saw this. He'd get on a pitching machine that was throwing the ball like 80 miles an hour, and he'd stand like this, straight onto the machine, and he'd hold the bat up like this. And he'd go, go ahead, throw it, put it in there. And he'd throw it, and he'd boom, bunt the ball, boom, right like this. If he missed by 2 inches.
With a fungo.
With a fungo.
Look at the difference in the
Yeah,
grip.
exactly. And he would do boom, boom, boom. So talk about fungo skill. If you want to get that good at fungo in, go outside right now and go practice. Another tip, go out and practice your fungo. Don't just wait for a player. Like if you really struggle, get a bucket of balls. I had to do this when I first started fungoing. I couldn't hit pop-ups to the infield. I could do it awesome when I played. I was the best at hitting infield pop-ups, but as a coach, I couldn't hit infield pop-ups. I don't know why. So I got a bucket of balls. I'd go out there. I was coaching college for the first time, and I would grab and I would just work on it. So maybe you can't hit a fly ball. Maybe you can't hit a ground ball. Go get a bucket. Don't feel like, oh, I can't do that. Like every coach at some point struggled because they've never hit a fungo before. So practice.
That's a good point. The other thing I thought of is pick your fungo. There's many different types. Like that's a 36 inch. I'm a big
Awesome.
36 inch guy. You know, they make fungos as short as 32 inches, I think.
Yep. And
So-
they'll make them even bigger than 36. They'll
Yeah.
make them really long.
And then, you know, they make ones with bigger barrels, skinnier handles. You know, a lot of guys like the SSK type where
Yep.
it's like a real skinny handle.
handle,
And then, you know, they got real short barrels, some of them. So get to know what type of fungo feels best for you. Matt talked about in the one of the other videos was, you know, his game bat. You know, he could feel a game bat and go, oh yeah, this is the bat for me. This is feeling good. Same thing. Get to know your fungo. Find out what fungo works best for you, what you like most. then
That
get
is
practice
that
with
is humongous. I feel like now I'll put my fungo skills against anybody. I feel like I'm not as good as Gamboa, but I can put the ball wherever I want. But if you take my fungo away from me and give me a different one, a 4-inch longer fungo, I will look like I never hit a fungo before. So it is, everyone I think has a certain preference. So try a bunch of different fungos. If you can't hit one with a 34, try a 38 and see if you can hit it better.
Can I see that one?
Yep.
Speaking of, Yugo Pro Baseball Fungos now available. Link in the description. I got to pay these camera guys.
Hey, and
help a brother out.
That's a suit. Can I keep this?
You can keep
It's
that.
this is a really good fungo. Speaking of, like, I want to hit with
I was
this one.
planning on giving it to Joe, but that's all yours, Matt.
He's not here.
Hey, thank you guys so much. I hope that helped you out. And if you have any more questions or anything about hitting fungos, throwing BP, whatever it is, let me know. We'd be happy to answer your questions. And go subscribe to Antonelli Baseball, Yugo Pro Baseball, and check us out there. Thank you so much.